Human beings are going to grow into people of influence, and the key that we're giving them is the love. If you want a community that is full of love, not hate, you've got to be able to plant love in that community.
Yeah.
And so for me, I've learned to be love. When I was younger, it was all about what I'm going to get out of it. You don't operate for love.
John, talk to me about, you set up Hope School 1, which I saw when it was just, the site works were being done and there was a bit of roofing on some kind of supports. We put some tanks in. Now there's Hope School 2.
Yes.
You've also, through partnership in Sri Lanka,
yes,
there's a Hope School 3 now.
Yes.
And there's also possible plans, if you're called to, to open another one, maybe on the western side of, the northwestern side of Bali here.
So we never kind of thought we would be running schools. Years ago, there was no way in the world. I'm not a teacher. Muddy's not a teacher. So we never thought we'd be running schools. But when we started to come into the villages and we started to realise that teaching English and computer was going to be a key part of helping young people to get out of poverty, we just started going from village to village, as I said before. But then we started to realise that a permanent place was so necessary, and that's why the education system in all countries have permanent schools where people can go. And so also in those travels, we've been to villages in areas. And so how do we start Hope School 1? We'd been in that area for 5 years before we started.
Building the foundation.
Yeah, well, we didn't know at the time. We were just going from village to village until such time as we just felt we just needed to have a permanent place. Instead of us going to them, they came to us. And the same here. During COVID, all the people who worked in this area down in the city, with COVID, they had to come back. So for 2 years, we fed them rice. We just gave them bags of rice. Every week we come up, there were people sitting around doing nothing. They had nothing. We did clinics. So now this other place where we can start, given that we get this up and running, is to the west of Bali on the north coast. We've been there a lot already teaching, just with a bunch of computers. And honestly, the first time we went there, 40 kids. Second time we went there, 60 kids. And same thing, they're all just so keen. So in my heart, how are we going to pull this off, Well, one step at a time. We've got to get this running and established, and we've got to get good teachers here. So, out of nowhere, we got Julie for this school. We were sitting in a little cafe having a meal, and we heard some conversation from a table across from us. This Balinese woman who lives in this area was talking some English and Balinese and Indonesian, but I picked up on that her English wasn't bad. And we said, can we come and sit next to you? And so this is kind of how it happens. It's almost as if it's accidental. But then Julie related to us after she'd been working with us for a while that her dream from a child, 16-year-old, was that she would teach English one day. Now, she always thought she'll have to go to the city or go to the other side of the world to teach English. But it turns out she's in her own village being able to teach her own people skills. And the important thing for us is these kids, if you're going to influence them, they've got to see someone of their own. It's all right for Steve to come in and say, you can do this. It's all right for someone to come in from a Western society and say, you can do this. But for them to see one of their own, Julie, right? And now you've been with Julie now, working with us these last few days. So, what kind of a character do you see there?
She's just a giver. She just is a person of service who just loves to see the kids grow, loves to see them happy, joyful. She's just got a beautiful heart.
And she's not a trained teacher.
No.
And yet, how does she teach?
Like a teacher.
Right.
Trained teacher.
Better than a teacher. Because She's not just teaching by route, she's teaching by heart.
Yeah.
Like we got the slow kids, she'll sit there for half an hour with each slow kid, and she's not impatient. She'll help them through that lesson. There's some of the boys that come, and they're virtually illiterate when they get here because they never paid any attention at school, like a lot of boys, you know. There are some girls, we've got a few slow girls, but she sits there and just helps them with every word.
Yep.
Just helps them with every word. She doesn't get mad with them and go, you've already learnt that. Doesn't get mad with them. She never gets mad with them.
Yep.
You know, you remember back at school when your teacher get mad with you? I remember when I was at school, I was one of them slow kids. Teacher get mad with me, they wouldn't even bother with you in the end. They'd go over to the kids that were brilliant, the kids that are finished first. They're concentrating on the kids that are finished first. We're concentrating on the kids that nobody would concentrate on.
Yep.
And what are we going to do? We're going to pull them through to being successful. Not because we taught them much, but we love them much. Does that make sense?
Yep. Yep.
We love them to the point where they don't feel like, you know, the slow kid, he gets so much negative from teachers and the world and, you know, like your dad might or your mum might say, you'll never be anything because your grades are low. Is that right?
Yep.
But we don't focus on that. We just focus on, we've got these children, let's do the best we can while they're here.
Yeah. Well, as soon as they come through those front gates, right,
Yeah.
they're already ahead.
Yeah. Yep.
They're already ahead because they've made the commitment to themselves
Yes.
that they want to learn more.
That's right.
They want to interact more.
And they're the kids we want.
That's exactly
And
right.
I mean, the kids that go down the beach instead, we still love them.
Yep.
Yeah, we were swimming with them the other day. We're having a ball with them.
Yeah.
Hey,
Good.
Now, we still love them, so probably through that love, one day they will come again. But, you know, it's all too hard. You go from having no language to having a little bit of language. You're stepping into it. But you've got to make a choice so I can get past that language barrier. That applies to everything in life. It doesn't matter what you it's a computer, you know. Like I was in the fishing industry for 40 years, and sometimes we'd have people come out on the boat and you'd notice the boat is drifting, so you'd start the engines up, lift the anchor and drop it again, and they'd say, John, I didn't even know the boat was drifting, right? And so the skills that you learn, one, by book learning, but you don't learn that the anchor's drifting. You've got to learn that. Now, to become a licensed skipper in Australia, when I did mine, you had to have 4 years already working on a license, under a licensed skipper. Why? Because you learn that the boat is drifting.
Yep.
Right? And, you know, sometimes in your own life, I use this analogy in life in that we can be drifting along aimlessly, but it's not until we hit the rocks that we realise we're drifting. And so the drift and being anchored is important. The drift is important because it starts to teach you a little bit of urgency. There's rocks behind me. I need to be out there. Can I get that motor started and the anchor up and get to where I should be? Or will I go on the rocks?
Yep.
Yeah, and you would have had that in your life.
Yep.
So you anchor, you go out and you anchor to something that's secure. Is that right?
Correct.
Yeah. And so I see Steve now and known him, and along the journey we've been able to talk about each other's life situations. And Steve is moving towards his plan, purpose. Like Steve has said to me, oh, John, it's making money is one thing, but there's got to be a purpose in my life. I want to have a purpose outside of making money because it's not fulfilling. You just said to me a couple of days ago, making money is not going to fulfill. And so you're investing in something that's going to be fulfilling, something you can revisit. The farmer plants a seed. He just doesn't walk away from it. He nurtures that seed. He sees it coming through the soil. He sees the weeds. He sees it's dry, right? And he waters it. And then 6 months later, he's got a crop. That's what you're doing, mate. That's what we're doing. The crop, though, in this situation is human beings. It's baby human beings that are going to grow into people of influence. And the key that we're giving them is the love. The love. If you want a community that is full of love, not hate, you've got to be able to plant love in that community.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? And even in your family situation, if you want love in your family, you've got to be able to plant love. You've got to be love. You've got to... And so for me, I've learned to be love. When I was younger, it was all about what I'm going to get out of it. Every day I went fishing. I didn't go fishing, to love the ocean, although I loved the ocean. I loved the whales, I loved the dolphins, I loved everything out there. But if I didn't catch fish, I didn't pay for fuel, you don't operate for long.
No, that's exactly right.
So there's a reality check there. You're not expecting to just do what you do without having to have a financial base. But you've got a financial base now, and you're saying, I want more than just making money in my life, because it leaves you empty.
Yeah.
But you come up here, you've planted here, and other places that you do that, and I'm sure you're the same with everything you do, that, you're looking for key people to love and support and to be loved, right?
That's true.
I know that when you come here, we love you. Mate, love you,
Well, I feel part of the family. I haven't been here in 5 years, for COVID and other things happening. But as soon as I arrived, Andrew met me at the airport, who I met many years ago. And
same guy.
Visits. And
hair's grown a bit.
Straight in, yeah, the hair's grown a little bit. But, And I get a lot of people that say to me, and we've done a couple of videos over the years, but a lot of people say to me, "Oh, you're going to Bali? What are you going to Bali for?" Or, you're going to piss it up in the resorts, right?" And for me, I remember years ago we spent about a week in the school, and then we went to a resort down near the beach, and I remember sitting in the resort thinking, I wish I was back in the school, Now, in a few days' time, I'm probably going to say to you, John, I wish I was back. I said I might be back on Sunday or Monday.
That's right.
Because I'm heading to do some kind of planning and some reflection and just have some time ready before the festive season. Obviously, when this comes out, it'll be after Christmas now. But I wanted to do this chat, John, because I wanted to answer some questions. I wanted people to get a deeper belief and a deeper understanding of what yourself and Mate have set up here, the authenticity that yourself and obviously your company, Provision International, does. And just to give people a bit of a taste on, you mentioned earlier around, how much things cost. The average salary in Bali is about 19,000 Australian dollars, right? But that's average, right?
Yeah.
You were saying, what does a teacher earn?
About 300 a month.
300 Australian dollars a month.
Which is 36
Yep.
a year.
Yep.
And just recently they've found...
3,600, not 36,000.
Yeah, 3,600. So, look, we're... when you said just before that you want to go off for a couple of days and reflect, reflection is... we all need to reflect. If we just keep work, we burn out.
Yep.
But when you go and have those time to reflect, then the stuff drops in to your heart and your mind. And I used to be always busy.
Yep.
And the busy's good if it's productive. But even busy, productive, you've got to take time to reflect.
Yeah.
You've got to take time to just chill. I don't stress about anything these days. I used to stress about everything. These days I don't stress about anything because of those reflection times. Yeah. I just say to Mate sometimes, Dale, we're just going to go down the road to Ahmed, 30 k's away, book a bungalow by the beach for $30 a night, do some snorkeling, chill out, because if you stay in the environment like this, there's always something to do. And I've got to get money away. It's just as important for you to unwind as your spouse to unwind.
Correct.
Now, you worked in a very stressful environment in what you're in, and so is your wife. Very important that you took that time out on occasions. I don't know about you, but for me it probably works out to be about, 10, 15, 20 days a year that I need that.
Yep.
Right? Like super need that. But then weekends we take a day out. We go to church on Sundays. We just kind of dedicate that time to God. I wouldn't say that we're religious fanatics, but God created the world in 7 days, and on the seventh day he rested. 6 days, and on the seventh day he rested.